Afternoon and welcome to the regular meeting of the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners. It's a pleasure to have everybody with us. We have a pretty long agenda for this meeting. Following this meeting, we'll have a briefing for next week's meeting. So we have a lot on our plate, a lot of different subjects to discuss. But to get us underway, the Vice Chairman of our board, Don Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon. As we will begin our meeting today with an invocation from President Greg Scott, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and it'll be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner McDaniel. In fact, you can come on up, Greg. We just met and talked briefly. I want to say one thing on his way up. I said, as we entered into our prayer today, I would like to ask everyone to remember the family of Stan Elrod. He was an outstanding principal here in the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools, and he died unexpectedly on Tuesday. And he was certainly, he impacted tens of thousands of students, obviously many faculty, as well as parents during a very long career. And he will be very missed, his leadership in this community. So, Mr. Scott, thank you. Would you please stand if you're ready?
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful to open up this meeting and to proceed with the business of our county. We thank Thee for blessings that we all receive in our lives that make our daily life possible. We thank Thee for peace and in our community and all the peace we receive in our nation and in the world, and we desire much more. Father, we ask Thee for a blessing to be upon Principal Elrod and his family, that they may have peace in their hearts and they may understand the gratitude of the people of this community. We ask Thee, Heavenly Father, that in the coming weeks as we go through an election, that there may be an increase of brotherhood and understanding in our nation. Please bless our commissioners and their families for their service. We offer this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman, can I take a point of privilege, please, before Scott leaves the premises? The Church of Latter-day Saints has been very much involved in interfaith cooperation in Forsyth County, and I've been privileged to be a part of that. I want to thank you for being a leader in that regard as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any citizen wishing to participate in the public portion of the meeting via telephone, please call 336-422-1200, and you will be placed on hold until the public session begins. That number again is 336-422-1200. And any member of the audience who is interested in participating in the public session of the meeting, you do need to fill out a small green speaker card and give it to our clerk at the end of the table, Ms. Ashley Sloot. We're going to begin our meeting with a presentation from Joshua Swift, our Public Health Director, who's given us a COVID-19 update since March of 2020.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I will do this the old-fashioned way. I have a, well, I don't know if that's going to work. Is that going to work?
This needs to be reduced. There you
go. Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so just a brief update. Last 14 days, we've had a 17% decrease in cases, hospitalizations, 19 Forsyth County residents. We have had 2 deaths reported over the past week from COVID-19. And this is a way to see our lab-confirmed cases. We had 250 cases the week of October the 16th. So that's where, like I said, you can see over the past now 9 months where we have been with cases. I will share, this is from the Institute of Health Metrics. This is out of the University of Washington. This is looking at North Carolina, what we think could occur over the next few months. You can see where we are today with our COVID cases. So there is concern that we will see, again, it's not a spike, but we could see a slow rise in the number of cases. That's what they're projecting. As for North Carolina, that's pretty much what we're expecting all over. We are seeing more this illness in our schools and just in the community. You're hearing a lot about flu. You're hearing about RSV and some of that. You've probably seen in the news there was a high school in Northern Virginia that out of 2,000 students, 1,000 were out sick with the flu or RSV or COVID. So I heard someone speaking today from Atrium who had been talking to Dr. Kevin High, the president, and said, you're kind of seeing this catch up with the immunity where lots of people, for several winters, there was less exposure in the community, and we're, now that with less masking, we're back to really all events are full scale, which, we're back to as it has been, but we're seeing, that sort of catching up, whether it's our younger population that didn't have that exposure, maybe they weren't in daycare, they weren't at the play place, they didn't have that exposure when they were 18 months old to 2 years old, so now it's sort of catching up. But we are keeping an eye, and this is just pertaining, the metric I'm showing you is just for COVID, what we're looking at. So, again, just, I just one or two more things to share. New boosters are still available. They're at the health department. We're seeing an uptick in people coming to get the boosters. We had over 100 people come through the other day, so that seems to be good. Our own Dr. Ohl came through with his daughter the other day to get his COVID bivalent booster for him and his daughter, plus they got their flu shots at the same time. So we were excited about that. And I got to meet her, and so that was good. I told her that let her dad have the Halloween candy and all that. So it was, but it was good just to see Dr. Ohl. Yeah, trick or treat. I call it a candy tax. All dads need to get a little bit of that candy, especially if it's Almond Joy. COVID and flu vaccine, like I said, we're open 5 days a week at the health department. Also, we are at a medium level per the CDC's community level. So if you're at high risk for severe illness, talk to your healthcare provider about whether you need to wear a mask and take other precautions. Stay up to date with those COVID-19 vaccines. So like I said, we have that available at the health department and other locations. Get tested if you have symptoms. There's at-home tests that are available in this building at the government center, at the health department, all 10 branches of the library. And next door to the health department at Haynes CME Church, I was just talking with the representative from Ottendorf. They will be starting next week. They have been doing testing at Union Baptist Church. Now they're moving to that location at Union Baptist is closing, but they're going to be at Haynes CME Tuesdays and Thursdays for the foreseeable future. I think I shared with you before, back in early October, the state said, hey, we need to stop offering this testing in the county. And I said, time out, we can't do that. So they said, okay, let's work something out. And thankfully, between Haynes CME Church, Ottendorf, who's the contractor, they're going to be able to be there next door to the health department for the foreseeable future, as long as there's demand. And they do have the capacity to possibly have increased presence there more days a week. We just want to see how that goes 2 days a week from 9 to 5. So be happy to take any questions at this time.
Any questions for Joshua?
We're saying now that we're over the pandemic. On a scale of, say, 1 to 10, are we over it, or are we close to being over it, or have we been over it? Or because some people say you got to wear a mask, and others say, well, I'm not sure, and then there are those who say, well, it's all over. We don't have anything to worry about. But we've been going through pandemic for so long, and then today we say you don't have to wear a mask anymore. It's all right.
I think, thank you, Chairman Plyler. I think that's an individual decision. I would encourage people to consult with their physician. They know you know your immune system, your doctor. Consult with them about what they recommend. Obviously, get the vaccine, stay up to date on the vaccine. And if you do get sick, it's important to get tested. So if you do have COVID, you can get treatments as quickly as possible. So I think, we're learning to live with it. And I think we're in that way, we're in a good spot. I think some of these other illnesses is, we also have to look at those. Make sure you get your
where are
flu
we
shot.
on it? This RSV, that's all of a sudden become a big subject for the news coverage. Is it spreading quickly? Especially, this has happened primarily in small children, is that
Yeah,
correct?
we're seeing that in small children. That's not uncommon for this time of year to see that in the school systems and daycares. I think it's just, you think about over the last 2 winters, how we were more isolated and less exposures. So it's not really that much of a surprise that we're seeing an uptick, but you do need to be aware and take precautions, especially if you have little ones.
You know, that would, especially around Christmas.
Yeah.
That's when it's coming out. It sounds to me like just,
But I think everyone, like I said, take precautions, but you can enjoy Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, your holidays, and just if you need to take some precautions, but we need to just go on with living and just learn to live with this, just like we learned to live with flu and other illnesses.
thank you.
I had one question, please, Mr. Chairman. Josh, first, thank you for the information, always very helpful. I was in a meeting a couple of weeks ago dealing with an HIV program. They're trying to recruit ambassadors to sort of, I guess, put a positive presentation on the need to be sensitive to what's happening with the HIV community. And I know we've been focusing on COVID-19, but the next time you come, could you provide some statistics on Forsyth County's posture when it comes to HIV, please?
Yeah.
And I have some facts to talk from. I hate to talk without facts behind me.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? As always, Joshua, thank you and your staff for all that you do, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thank you.
The first item on the agenda is a public hearing to consider expenditures of county general funds for an economic development project and authorize an execution of an agreement with Zeal Abeg, Inc. And we have with us our Economic Development Director, Kyle Haney.
Good
You
afternoon.
may begin. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. So as our practice, this will be the time where we actually reveal the company's name. Over the last couple of weeks, we've kept that confidential. So the company that is before you is Zeal Abeg, Inc. They are a manufacturer of ventilation systems that have a wide variety of uses, from aerospace, food, life science, healthcare, data centers. They're headquartered in Germany and have 16 production facilities worldwide with over 4,700 employees. They currently have an operation in Guilford County where they have 200 employees and have been operating for 10 plus years. They are looking to locate their North American headquarters as well as a manufacturing facility, co-locating that in one building, and they are considering Forsyth County. If they chose Forsyth County, they would look at Union Cross Industrial Center for a 500,000 square foot facility where they would locate that North American headquarters and distribution and manufacturing facility. They also are considering locations in Guilford County as well as out-of-state locations in both Tennessee and Columbia, South Carolina. So on the screen now, you can see a summary of what this project is. So if they moved here, they would commit to making $50.5 million in capital investments, $4.5 million in real property, and $46 million in machinery equipment, as well as locating and creating 303 full-time jobs with an average wage of $60,000 a year. And you can see a little bit of a breakdown of what those jobs are below. Looking at the county incentive proposal before you, it is the 5-year 50%, which is the standard for the county, which comes out to $430,000 over a 5-year period. And you can see over a 10-year period, the county would bring in $1.8 million and spend 1.4, and 76% of those tax dollars would remain with the county. Other incentives that are going to be considered, the City of Winston-Salem will be considering an incentive this coming week as well on Tuesday. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Kyle? All righty. Is there anyone who is wishing to speak in favor of the petition? This is a public hearing, and speakers will have up to 15 minutes to speak in favor or in opposition. And if you are interested in coming forward, please just identify yourself and your address, and we'll begin our 15 minutes now. Mark, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Mr. Chair, members of the County Commissioners, great to see you. Mark Owens, 411 West 4th Street here in Winston-Salem. We are thrilled to be able to bring this project forward for consideration. This is a very competitive project, and we hope that your consideration and ultimate approval of this incentive offer would bring 303 new jobs and over 50 million. It's a North American headquarter opportunity. It also could provide future growth up to the tune of over 800 jobs over a 10-year period. I just want to reiterate, this is a very competitive process. Your leadership as the county commissioners make us competitive, and we appreciate this opportunity. And we hope that with your support, we can help bring new jobs to our residents of our community above the average county wage here in Forsyth County and continue to grow and really operate in a new and forward-thinking area of our community that is proven for industrial growth in Union Cross. So we're thrilled for this opportunity. We appreciate your consideration. And on behalf of our business community in Greater Winston-Salem and our board, we'd urge for your support and thank you for the opportunity to provide this. I'm happy to answer any questions or yield time for others. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other speakers?
I'm the same speaker. So I apologize, Mr. Vice Chair, Mr. Chair. I did want to recognize that we have members of the company here with us that I'd just like to point out so that they can wave, including their managing director, Mirko Hernan. They're here with us in the back, even coming in from Germany. So we're appreciative of their time and being here and showing that this is an area that they're super interested in. Again, very competitive, but they're very interested and wanted to be here today to show the support.
You know, from my perspective anyway, I don't know if this is the time to start talking like this, but we can't afford not to do it. It's the investment is worth it. The jobs that are going to be taken out of what we do here would be beneficial to the entire county and surrounding counties for that matter. And could we meet the fellows who are sitting back there and thought enough to bring the very best here and say hello to us anyway?
Sure, we can do that if that's amenable, just to come and recognize their names real quick.
Sure.
I know it's tough to be able to talk about a lot of the details of the project, but we'd happy to try to answer any questions we can for you if that's
Well, let me
okay,
tell you,
Mr. Chair.
from my background, I was born in California, but the name Plyler goes back to Germany. So I have a distant relative somewhere in Germany. And I know it sounds in self-interest, but I can't prove it because I don't know anybody. That's one of the reasons I like to see who these folks are.
Great. Jimmy, would you mind coming up just for 1 second and introduce yourselves, please?
Mark, while you're doing that, Vice Chairman, Chairman and Vice Chairman, if I may, I do have one question.
Sure.
If I missed the location, please help me again.
They're considering a Union Cross Industrial
Okay,
Center off of
Union
Union
Cross,
Cross.
thank
Yes,
you. I
ma'am.
apologize for not catching that.
problem.
Thank you.
We just come introduce yourself real quick if you don't mind.
While you're coming up, Union Cross is a pretty darn good place to go.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you again very much for your time and consideration. My name is Jimmy Mitchell, Vice President of Operations for Zillabeg Incorporated here in North America. Again, thank you very much for having us here today. And again, we appreciate all the support.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Do we have any other speakers in favor? All righty. Do we have anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the petition? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Make a motion
Second.
by Commissioner Elamine, second by Chairman Plyler. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a resolution designating new review officers to review and certify maps and plats for Forsyth County, North Carolina, in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 47-30.2. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Chairman Plyler,
Second.
second by Commissioner McDaniel and Commissioner Elamine. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. The next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes for the meeting of October 13th, 2022. Do I have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by Chairman Plyler, second by Commissioner Elamine. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Madam Clerk, do we have any calls or cards for the public session?
Mr. Vice Chairman, we don't have any callers, but we have 2 people in person.
Okay, thank you.
Our first speaker is Gary Williams. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, Board of Commissioners and Chairman. I am Gary R. Williams. I am a member of First Baptist Church, Highland Avenue, and I am also the co-founder of the Share Cooperative here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And so we've been here a number of times just to share with you what we've been up to down there and our vision and our objectives. We have a video. We wanted to start our conversation with the video, and then I'll invite our co-founder here to make some comments. This is our store. When I say our store, it's our store. It's a community store. And we are serving the public down there in a number of ways. All right. No video, huh?
There it is right there. No volume.
Yes.
We've shared with you some of our commemorative booklets so that you can see people in our community who've contributed to this effort. A number of folk have, including Forsyth County and including City of Winston-Salem and any number of other folk. So wanted to make sure that you got a copy of the commemorative book, which then lists the members and the folks who contributed to this. This is a community effort. Yeah. This is not something that's, one-sided. It's something that we've all come together to do, and we're pleased and proud of that. We have a direct mission, and our mission is to mitigate, reduce food insecurity in Forsyth County. We have folk here in Forsyth County who are hungry, and we think that's unacceptable in America in this day and time. And so we've initiated this initiative, this project, to, again, mitigate, reduce food insecurity in Forsyth County. Would you tell them why that's important?
Good afternoon. My name is Willa Bass. I'm the other co-founder to the Share Cooperative in Winston-Salem. 5 years ago, we found out through the city county planning that food insecurity was a major issue in our community. Statistics that I have here says that food insecurity is a dire issue in Winston-Salem. Our city has 21 food deserts, 61,000 food insecure individuals, an issue of disproportionately affecting minorities and low-income residents. It goes on to say that there is a need for ways to address food. We then decided, Gary and I decided that we were going to address food. But we wanted to do it in more than one way. We didn't want to address an issue and then have it as a way to have a project. We wanted it to be a sustainable way of life. We felt like not only food was an issue, but also community. And so we had to figure out then what we were going to do as far as how we were going to present this community. And we decided on a co-op. And so we now have over 500 members that have joined our co-op from across the community. And we have a very engaged market. As you can see by the pictures up there, it's not no small thing. This was a feat, Commissioner McDaniel. Right? Thank you for your help. And so we come to you today, say thank you all for what you've done for us. Commissioner Whisenhut, thank you. We couldn't have done it without you. So now we're coming to say, co-chairs Martin and Fowler, come join us. Come see the store. Come shop at the store. and let's build community. Commissioner Linville, thank you very much. I appreciate it. But now we need to show community. We have set the table. Now it's up to you to come. We'll also be asking about, other resources. We have jobs, 21 jobs, livable wage jobs, right? Not as big as a corporation, but we do have jobs. It's an economic piece. So we want to thank you all. You challenged us. We accepted the challenge. And so now we'd like to say, come see and come help.
Let me make a
All right.
comment for just a
Sure.
moment. Mr. Williams came up a while ago and looked at me and said, thanks for helping us do this. And I thought, helping you do the magazine? But now you've finally come against my kind of weak mind today. And I remember very well when you started. And the board, I'm sure, deserves a lot of credit, but good Lord have mercy, you fellows have done just something fantastic. I've been up here in this particular position as a member of the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners, and we've done things for several people, but never have I seen a narrative as thick and as colorful and as professionally done as this, and all you're trying to do is give people a chance to eat in some affordable way. And it's just amazing to me. And the two of you, from my perspective, I want to become your best friend, just so I can say, well, yeah, I know them very well. So, but you've done a terrific job, and I sure appreciate, from a personal point of view, you're educating at least me on what you're all about. And it's a necessary thing in our community, and not everybody in this state has people like you who can do stuff like this and make it beneficial for everybody. Thank you very much.
Well, let me comment real quick. It's not just he and I.
If it was just you, you couldn't do that.
5 members.
Yeah,
Appeal to any number of folks.
it's terrific.
And help us with this.
And Mr. Chairman, could I take a moment of
Yes, sir.
privilege, please? I was able to participate in the ribbon cutting ceremony, and I think I mentioned then that you took the weight of a mustard seed of faith and built this enterprise through cooperation with the city and the county and dedicated members. And so you're to be commended for the work you've done. I think it's something we can all learn from as a model to how to impact those desert communities where we have very little food, especially nutritious food. So thank you again for your work effort, and we look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you again.
Chairman and Vice Chairman, if I may, for Dr. Williams and Dr. Bass, I have a question relative to the SNAP program. Are you accepting that at the market? And could you talk to me a little bit about the delivery services? Are they still available?
Yeah, we do delivery.
Okay, yeah, I think the public needs to know exactly what you
People have
do.
indicated to us that they can't get to our location because they have transportation challenges. So we found a grantee purchased a vehicle for us. So we're using that vehicle to deliver food all over Forsyth County.
That's really
Call
important.
us and you need food. We have a program to feed people. We have an emergency food feeding project. We have a project that involves food pharmacy. Touching lives. We have results. We can show results.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thanks both of you for being here. And a picture's worth 1,000 words, so we appreciated the pictures and to see it, and certainly take you up on your invitation to come visit. So thank both of you.
Mr. Vice Chairman, our last speaker card is Edgar Miller. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman. My name is Edgar Miller. I'm the Yadkin River Keeper. We are based here in Winston-Salem, 846 West 4th Street. I'm here today to talk about your agenda item number 12, authorizing application to the North Carolina Land and Water Fund. As you know, sediments and nutrients from urban stormwater runoff are a major source of pollutants in the Yadkin watershed. We are working not only to keep those pollutants out of the river and entering it directly, but also reducing those pollutants coming through its many tributaries like Brushy Fork Creek in eastern Winston-Salem. According to our 2020 report, Roadmap to a Cleaner Yadkin, the Lower Salem Creek watershed, which contains Brushy Fork Creek, is ranked as one of the most stressed subbasins, if not the most, within the entire Yadkin River watershed for non-point source pollution. I'm here today to raise concerns by property owners that live on Barkwood Drive and near Brushy Fork Creek, who have seen significant stream bank erosion and property damage due to increases in the amount of runoff from the Smith Reynolds Airport property following land clearing activities several years ago. We appreciate the efforts of Airport Director Davidson to obtain funding from the North Carolina Land and Water Fund for stream restoration work along Brushy Fork and adjacent privately owned properties. But we are concerned that the funds need to be appropriated now and not a year from now to begin the stream restoration project. We encourage the county to appropriate the money needed now for the stream restoration project, estimated at $400,000, and begin assessing the property damage suffered by Barkwood residents, which is creating some potentially dangerous situations like trees that have eroded from the bank falling into their property and hitting their homes or other structures. We also recommend the county provide funds to compensate those homeowners, so many of who have spent thousands of dollars trying to mitigate the damage that has been incurred from this excessive stormwater runoff. Relying on funding from the North Carolina Land and Water Fund is uncertain at best, and demand significantly outstrips availability every year. Funds would only be available for this project at the earliest by the end of next year, 2023. The residents of Barkwood Drive have been dealing with these issues for more than 4 years and deserve to have their concerns addressed now. With tens of millions of dollars being invested in the airport's expansion, it would seem reasonable that the county and the airport can afford to address these concerns and reassure the residents of Barkwood Drive their homes and property are not going to be damaged further. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you for being here. We will discuss that during that agenda item coming up.
Yes, thank you.
All righty. I believe, Mr. County Manager, we're ready for the agenda items for today.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman, and good afternoon, board members and staff and guests. We do have some items for consideration this afternoon. We have reviewed these items twice in briefing sessions. Hopefully, we've answered any questions that may arise. I do want to make you aware going into it, there's some interest in having kind of moving a discussion that was in the briefing side for the November 10th agenda around the Piedmont flight training lease to the formal, to the end of this meeting. And so I've got Mark Davidson prepared to do an update on the negotiations that you heard last Thursday. And so he will do that in the formal side if it's satisfactory with the board. So anyway, when I get to that, when I get finished, I won't be quite finished, but we'll keep trucking. So, all right. So I'm going to dive into the agenda. Agenda item 5 is an amendment to the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget ordinance. It appropriates fund balance for renovations at the Forsyth County Department of Social Services as part of the Health Campus renovation project. This will appropriate $450,000 for those improvements.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Chairman Plyler, second by Commissioner Elamine. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, agenda item 6 is an amendment to the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget ordinance that appropriates adoption, promotion, program incentive funds to the Forsyth County Department of Social Services. Our staff's done a great job, so there's incentive dollars that are available in the amount of $94,963.25, really to enhance our efforts to promote the possibility and the desire to adopt our children.
Move approval.
Second?
Motion approved by Chairman Plyler, second by Commissioner McDaniel. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item 7 is amendment to the fiscal year 2022-23 budget ordinance that appropriates fund balance for forestry staff salaries due to a state increase, essentially in a 60-40 partnership there. This will appropriate $2,388 for this purpose.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion approved by Chairman Plyler, second by Commissioner Elamine. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
We got 6 grant items for consideration this afternoon. Item 8, you've got a resolution authorizing submission of an application to Vital Strategies to apply for and accept if awarded a matching grant to expand opioid settlement-funded overdose prevention initiatives. This is a $70,000 revenue opportunity. It would create an educator position and fund some harm reduction supplies.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion approved by Chairman Plyler, second by Commissioner Elamine. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item 9 is a resolution authorizing submission of an application and if awarded acceptance of a family planning services grant from the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Health, Women, Infant, and Community Wellness, Reproductive Health Branch to the Forsyth County Department of Public Health. This is a 3-year grant opportunity in the amount of $528,888.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion approved by Chairman Plyler, second by Commissioner Elamine. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item 10 is a resolution authorizing submission of an application to the North Carolina Division of Parks and Recreation, Department of Natural and Cultural Resources to apply for and accept if awarded an accessibility for parks grant to fund a universal playground structure at Blues Lake Park. This would add and make available some additional dollars for that park, which we are bringing to you fairly shortly, the full GMP on that, and hopefully we'll get started pretty quickly. This is a $600,000 grant opportunity. There's a 20% matching award, which we've already got budgeted, so it's essentially leverage the dollars that we've already got in the.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion approved by Chairman Plyler, second by Commissioner Elamine. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Item 11 is a resolution authorizing submission of an application to the North Carolina Department of Transportation. It applies for and accept if awarded a 2023 Rural Operating Assistance Grant for the Elderly and Disabled Transportation Assistance Program, or EDTAP, and also the Employment Transportation Assistance Program and Rural General Public Transportation Grant. It's annual, so you deal with it every year, but it's in the amount this year of $249,282.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion approved by Chairman Plyler, second by Commissioner Elamine. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item 12 relates to the item Mr. Miller commented on. It's a resolution authorizing execution of necessary documents to apply for and accept if awarded a grant from the North Carolina Land and Water Fund for improvements for the Brushy Fork Creek Restoration Project, Smith Reynolds Airport, and on certain contiguous properties. There were some questions from the board about the city's involvement in this, and so Deputy Manager Damon Sanders Pratt had sent you an email with some information about that hopefully addressed that. But if you've got questions for Damon, you can certainly address that.
Move approval.
Well, maybe just as a discussion part of that, well, let's get a motion in a second, we'll get a discussion. Motion by Chairman Plyler.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Elamine.
Mr. Vice Chairman, discussion when the time comes.
Discussion ready.
Let Mr. Pratt go ahead and make his, what information he has, give that, and then I'll comment.
So I had an opportunity to talk with my counterparts at the city, and Keith Huff in particular, in their stormwater department, and to clarify some questions that the commissioners had last week regarding whether or not these stormwater funds could be used to work on private property in the city. A memo that I've sent you noted that can't be used for that purpose, and that counties with populations of 910,000 or more, i.e. Wake and Mecklenburg, can operate stormwater programs if they have funding. So even if the county had a stormwater program, we still couldn't work on private property because we're not large enough. That was really designed for Mecklenburg and Wake. What Keith Huff indicated that the city attorney's office is doing is working on legislation that would allow their stormwater program to work on private property in the city. They used to have a 70-30 program where they paid 70% and then the private property owner would pay 30% plus the delta between the additional amount above the city's contribution of up to $35,000. That's still ongoing. They haven't had a decision on that yet. So as it stands, they can't use those funds to work on private property in the city.
But certainly as far as the grant application, how much are we requesting in the grant application?
$320,000.
And just say that one more time, I missed it.
$320,000, and then the county would be kicking in $80,000 for a total of $400,000.
Kind of deal. And how long is until they announce the awards? Do we know?
Mark, do you have knowledge of that? I'm sorry.
Mark Davidson, Airport Director. I don't have it in front of me, but from my understanding, the timeline is the applications are like due in December. They have you can, after you get them in January, February, you can reevaluate, and then they look at all the proposals and applications, and then it's awarded like in September.
So
That's from Remember.
So you don't know that you get the grant until September?
Right.
Wow, that's a long time. I got it. Thank you.
Point of privilege, please, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair. This erosion issue is a major problem, and I'll give you very specific. In the neighborhood that I live in, Country Club Annex, we have a young lady whose backyard is about 1/4 eroded. And Mr. Minor put us in touch with the state people who could give her some assistance, but she can't even apply until December. But her property has really been eroded because of the creek. In fact, on the right side of her property, a tree has already fallen, and she's been there 45 years. And she applied, and no one came out, and so she was so happy Mr. Minor's recommendation that people did come out and let her know that she could indeed apply to the state for funds effective in December because the funding they had then had already been exhausted. So it is a major issue, so I hope we can address it in some capacity to respond to the needs of the citizens in Forsyth County. And we just got annexed not too long ago since I moved out there. Shortly before I moved out, there was a part of the county. Now it's in the city, of course. So it is an issue. Erosion is really a serious issue that we need to address. Thank you.
Maybe one more question. I'm assuming did the city actually operate this program for a while, or they just planned to operate it? Because I read your memorandum, and it was in pretty good detail about what they're doing. And I was assuming they were going to use their stormwater collections to provide 70% city funding.
So they currently do have a stormwater mitigation program on public property. They used to have one on private property, their 70-30 program.
Right.
And now that's in a moratorium until they get some clarification on whether or not they have authority to work on private property in the city with those funds.
But their fund source to pay for it was probably, I'm assuming, their stormwater fees they collect.
That's right.
That's an odd statutory limitation by the state. It strikes me. I mean, because there are other places with stormwater funds, and it looks like that could clearly be a discretion of the entity that is levying the tax, collecting it, and choosing how they want to use it.
Right, and that's partly why they sent that specific statute that kind of shows what they feel like is limiting them from doing that, from working in the city on private property, that it just references counties at this point.
Well, maybe one other piece of information that could be collected for us for the future is in Mecklenburg and Wake, if they're using this statute, what kind of program do they have, and how does it work? Excuse me.
I'll seek additional information on that.
Okay, that's good. Appreciate it, but certainly we want to apply for the grant. So are we ready to vote? All in favor, please. Excuse me?
Request to speak.
Sure.
After last week, the discussion that we had about it, my interest got greater, and so I asked the clerk to contact Mark Davis, and so he met me over there Tuesday morning, and two of our soil conservation people were there, Ag Extension Director. So I just want to see for myself because of the logging operation that occurred. It's been 5 or 6 years ago. Which is it? 2016. Went to actually 3 properties. They all were side by side, and one of the things that was causing my interest last week, when logging operations are going on, they can do that up to, I think it's within 30 feet of a stream. And so I wondered, I didn't much think they would have cut that close. In fact, it was not. And my understanding is the Forest Service marked a boundary back in from the stream to the airport property. And from the location where we're standing, you're looking up a ridge. I wouldn't call it a hill, but it's up a ridge. It was hard to, and the stream was there. It was fenced where these houses were, so I didn't cross over to go any further. I still may do that. I don't know whether it appeared to me that the buffer of forest trees is still there, was probably between 100 and 150 feet back into the airport property. And I was going to say before I started, it's not my intention to offend or argue with anyone. I'm just telling you what I saw. That's the reason I went to look. I've probably seen as many or more streams along fields and in the woods as anybody in here, or in forest. And where I think there's two different parts of it. There's one part, and then there's a part on upstream further. And there is, except that one lot that was there, I believe was Miss Johnson's. Was that her last name? Mark? I can't recall. But anyway, where her lot is, I guess she or someone had broken concrete put there to help with what erosion had occurred. You can use something like that, was a good thing to use, or what's called riprap rock, where you see on highways pretty big stones to stop erosion. A little bit on the next lot down, the creek bank had kind of, I guess you would call it, cave a little bit down. But where we were standing, I would say that the stream itself, not the water, but the creek bank down to the stream, was probably 4 or 5 feet deep, not the water, just it's the creek bank. But on all of the other area I was looking at, there was vegetation, some small vegetation all the way down to the water. There was, on the airport side, there was big standing trees vegetation. On the side of the private property, there was not many there. It's not the airport property. So, and after 5 or 6 years, when a logging operation occurs, then whether it's replanted or whether it's natural growth back, it's been the 5 or 6 years now. And like I said, I didn't walk there to see it, but further, but I may do that at some point. I need to come back in from the, or one needs to come in from airport property. It's not a good way to get to it from on the east side. So, and where it comes into right at these backyards, what is happening, there's a bend, and it's to the east, and it's just like a S bend or a U-turn. The stream is coming one way and turning, going back the other way. And when you have large volumes of water, the force against the bank is likely to erode some. So with that, I'll just leave it, and most likely I'll go back and look some more, and I'll come look at the airport side, because there's been apparently right much conversation about it, and it So with what we have here, I will support what this grant and see whether we can get it or not. And if we do, we'll use it for that. If we were not to, most likely we might. Then we can still look to try to address the situation. I guess some could call it, it's no need for me to make a term of what severity is, because whatever in my mind it is, somebody's going to counter that. But that's the reason I wanted to go see. I'd heard quite a bit about it, and because how one looks at one thing and then another person looks at the same thing might look different to them. Just things looks different in different eyes. So,
In your considered opinion, though, it sounds to me like you're saying don't lay the blame solely on Smith Reynolds Airport's project.
that I what?
Don't lay the blame for the erosion solely alone on the Smith Reynolds Airport project.
No, I would not. But had there been there's just such a large buffer there, that's the main thing I wanted to see, and I guess it runs the whole length of where the logging took place, and I think one needs to take into account that if the Forest Service made the marker of how much buffer to leave, they got some amount of experience in these things. And when you talk about clear cutting, logging, there's nothing, it's allowable. They do it, it's done probably on a weekly or monthly basis in Forsyth County somewhere in regard to subdivision. So it's not something that's illegal, it can be done. And but the main thing is they did, there was no grading that took place, to my knowledge, to what information that I had. The only thing is where they have log paths or roads to move the trees from where it's cut to where it's processed and loaded on a truck. And then when they get done, Forest Service goes back and checks and makes sure that there's certain things that has to be done to prevent any erosion. But that don't mean it's going to be 100%. But
Did I understand you to say there were a couple soil and water conservation people there with you?
Yes.
And what did they say about it? What was their observation?
Well, I'd rather them just speak for themselves. I don't like to be speaking for someone else.
Well, maybe we can invite them in
their,
to come in and tell us that.
Their view could be slightly different from mine. And so my understanding is that they were, only knew about it or heard the first concerns maybe sometime in July of this year. That's what I understood. So, but anyway, I just want to go and see what was there.
Mark, could we ask those two folks to come in and talk to us a little bit about that?
While Mark's going up, if I could just add, because Kirby's here, and Kirby's been the administrator of all of our land stewardship activities, and we've at least doubled the buffer every time, just as a matter of practice.
Yes, we're around the body of water, we do, and then on the outside around boundaries, there's a different neighborhood there, but around the water, we listen to Forest Service and the consulting forester, and then we ask.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And yes, since I'm not an expert, I have requested the North Carolina Cooperative Extension, and it was Mike Bauman came out, and Damon's been involved, and I just wanted to be a good neighbor, like I said last week, and if we can, but I want to echo his what Commissioner Linville said about and Chairman Plyer. We want to be a good neighbor, but we don't know for certain that we contributed to the erosion, but we're here to help. So there is a neighborhood north of Barkwood that feeds right in, the stormwater feeds right in, and there's no sediment control. I think that's also another contributing factor.
Would one of those agents come in maybe at the briefing next week and just give us a little short update?
We can ask them.
Good, it'd be great. Now,
I had a follow-up question too, Mr. Chairman, if I could. Commissioner Linville, from your observation, and I trust your instincts on land matters 1,000%. We heard a number earlier about $400,000 being a proposed number to sort of fix that problem. From your judgment, would that solve the problem from what you observed out there?
Well, it's my understanding that the cost, this is an estimated cost, is $100 a linear foot. And how many, I don't know exactly how many feet they're talking about, but my estimation, it would more than cover it. And when they start to, if it's, I've seen those kind of projects done at different places. I've got streams on my farm, and that's, some of them is doing similar, and I do things to try to prevent it from being worse, because the water's, when it rains or when the stream is flowing, is going. You just have to try to mitigate what problems might be. But yes, it can be improved. But that's the stream is there, and it's even the thing that a forest canopy does. And then after it's cut, the canopy of forest, when it rains hard, that slows the water down itself. But there's canopy growing back. It's just not, and you can't, private landowners, they get criticized for clear cutting, but some people clear cuts and clears the land. Some, they replant it. It's not a law against doing that. But yes, the amount of money, in my estimation, is probably more than enough for the area that they're talking about doing.
Thank you very much.
so ready to call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, I would like for us to wait and see if we get this grant before we get into further discussion on it. I mean, it sends the message that maybe we're going to be doing something, and we don't know if we are or not. The agenda item was to apply for a grant, and that's what we should do, and wait and see if we get the grant. If we don't get the grant, then we can have further discussion.
Well, I guess I was just thinking that we've had this discussion today, and it's kind of nice to hear the end of it, that little piece, and it's for information instead of waiting a long time. I don't think we're going to spend very long. Does anybody object to hearing a 5-minute presentation from the?
I don't think it'd be 5 minutes.
I think it'd be 5 minutes if that's what we asked for.
It's not going to hurt anything if we do.
That's the reason I've been reserving some of my time for times like this.
All right.
Ready. Agenda item 13 is a resolution authorizing the execution of a funding agreement between Forsyth County and North Carolina Department of Transportation to fund airport flight operations counting service at Smith Reynolds Airport, 50% grant. The small amount offset is $1,200.
Move approval.
Motion approved by Chairman Plyler.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Elamine. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Well, you got 6 contractual matters. You got a resolution authorizing the execution of an application and conveyance agreement between Forsyth County and the City of Winston-Salem, acting through the City County Utility Commission for a corporate hangar project at Smith Reynolds Airport. It's basically for the utility part of that, $62,750.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion approved by Chairman Plyler, second by Commissioner Elamine. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
All right, the courthouse project's moving forward. You got a resolution awarding a contract to provide security access control and video surveillance systems at the new courthouse. It is an agreement that runs $1,217,546.17, and it's a 10-year licensing component, so it's over a fairly long period of time, and it used up part of that budget. There are some other technology costs that will be in that, but this portion is within the budgeted amount.
Move approval. By the way, what's that 17 cents for? I'm just having fun. Don't worry about that.
Motion to approve by Chairman Plowler.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lamine. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
You've got two items. Items 16 and 17 are both the purchase of vehicles. You got a resolution awarding a contract the purchase of 2 Dodge police pursuit vehicles for the sheriff's office, and then you've got 2 for general services. Sheriff's office amount is $84,186.68, and then the general services $77,928.06. You can probably take both those together if you want to.
Move approval.
Second. Motion approved by Chairman Plowler, second by Commissioner Lamine. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
You've got a resolution authorizing the execution of a contract between Forsyth County and Vanguard Professional Staffing Incorporated. It provides merit-based temporary staff for food and nutrition services. You heard her presentation last week on that, not to exceed $298,018. There's $100,000 of that from the merit-based temp staffing, which would not to exceed $100,000.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion approved by Chairman Plowler, second by Commissioner Lamine. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Item 19, you got a resolution that ratifies and authorizes execution of an interlocal agreement between Forsyth County and the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Board of Education for comprehensive school public health nursing services for medically fragile and special needs children in the amount of $434,090.36.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion approved by Chairman Plowler, second by Commissioner Lamine. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
We got 2 property matters. Item 20 is a resolution authorizing execution of an agreement to purchase real property located at 8570 Blues Creek Road. That is in conjunction with the Blues Lake Park project. It's a strategic piece of property that will help the park development. It's $85,000.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion approved by Chairman Plowler, second by Commissioner Lamine. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Item 21, you got a resolution authorizing a grant and execution of a utility easement to Duke Energy Carolinas to construct and access utility lines across Forsyth County-owned real property located at 100 Horizons Lane. This is essentially a project to move some electrical systems underground, and it's an infrastructure project.
Move approval.
Motion approved by Chairman Plowler. I'll second it. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
You've got one appointment item. I can do that, Mr. Vice Chairman, or you can handle it. It's a little bit unusual in that it's 4 appointments to the Forsyth County Health and Human Services Board, 4-year terms expiring September 26. This is one where you do have recommendations from the Health and Human Services Board for 3 of the positions. Do you just want me to keep trucking on this?
Yeah, you can just do those.
All right, so there are 4 positions. There's the capacities are 1 consumer of human services, 1 psychiatrist, 1 psychologist, and 1 social worker. You see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 applicants there, and you've got the recommendations from the Health and Human Services Board. The consumer of human services would be Dr. Linda Petro. The psychiatrist is Dr. Palmer Edwards, and the social worker is Sharon Rim. And so you've got 5 positions put in nominations, vote for 4.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommended nominations from the Health and Human Services Board.
Second.
Second by Chairman Plowler. Any discussion?
Well, on some of them, we have a sheet here. A couple of them, you have more than 1 choice.
Well, I was choosing the recommended folks by the Health and Human Services Board. That was my motion, just to include. Would you prefer to? Anybody prefer to vote individually on them?
No, I don't prefer. I'm
Yes?
going to take the recommendation.
Recommendations are fine with me, but there's just whatever.
Good.
Second.
that's good, we have a second by Commissioner Lamine. Any discussion about that?
So there would be one position that, do you have that? Please say yes, Ms. Ashley, of the two folks who'd be left.
For the record, I think it would be better to vote individually.
Okay. All right, what I don't see.
But that is the board's, that's your prerogative if you want to do that, but down the road, it'd be better to vote individually.
Take a couple seconds, it doesn't matter. I'll withdraw my motion. Let's, on the very first one, we will have that, we're looking for a consumer of human services, and you can vote for one. We have Ellen K. Endress, and we have Dr. Linda Petro. Please vote for one.
I didn't have that part of my stuff, so
All right.
I couldn't help you with that.
You volunteered to do it.
I know, I didn't realize I didn't have it.
Perfectly fine.
Should just stay away from it, that's the lesson.
Okay, we have one appointment that's a psychiatrist, and we have one psychiatrist willing to serve, Dr. Palmer Edwards. We can actually, I had this discussion with Gordon, we can actually, I'll just make a motion, we approve by acclamation.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lamine. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All righty. Oh, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead of the two, yes. Apologize. Yes, I was just waiting for Ashley for the first one, please.
That was my fault, I'm sorry. So for the consumer of human services, Linda Petru received majority vote.
Okay, very good. On the next one, we actually have, we're looking for a psychologist. We have no applicants, so we'll continue advertising. And finally, the third one is we're looking for the capacity here as a social worker. We have two folks willing to serve, Alexia Mitchell and Sharon Rim, and please vote for one.
Can't get the paper off. Wait a minute. Is that about it?
Got a few more things.
Mr. Vice Chairman, for the capacity of social worker, Sharon Rim received a majority vote.
Thank you.
All right, is that it? Okay. You got three items from tax administration. You've got a resolution approving refunds by the tax assessor collector in the amount of $4,002.28, which is the Board of Equalization and Review. And then item 24, just you can take those two together. It's a resolution approving refunds in the amount of $12,167.90 from North Carolina Vehicle Tax System.
Move approval.
Motion approved by Chairman Plyler, second by Commissioner Linville. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
So item 25 I kept out separately because our fantastic tax administrator had reminded me that this is actually denying a refund request to the assessor collector in the amount of $10,045.27. We really kind of brushed through it in the briefing sessions, but I'll turn it over to John Burgess to explain this.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. As you are aware, the ability to receive a property tax refund or release is very narrow in the state statutes, but I wanted to bring this one to you. I'm recommending denial of this refund request. The situation is that in January of 2021, the entire gray area of this tract existed, everything inside of it, and because of that, we created a 21 tax bill based on the entire area. Later in 21, these 9 individual parcels were separated out, and at the end of December, Penny Mack, who is the loan servicer for one of the smaller tracts, sent us a check for $10,000, and it had the new property address of this small tract. It had the owner's name of the new tract. And the amount of bill to the penny matched the 21 tax bill for the entire tract. And so, based on the information we had, our staff applied the payment to the entire bill, creating a zero balance. Since then, Penny Mac has come forward to ask for a refund, stating that they did not mean to pay the entire bill for the entire tract. The property owner that exists now in yellow, the first year they would have a property tax bill is 2022. But because of the narrow laws in North Carolina for taxpayer remedies under 105-381, I believe that we processed the payment correctly. I don't believe there was any error made, and the rules would not allow us to refund it, in my opinion. So I wanted to make sure I was bringing this to you to explain the nuances.
Can I ask a question? On the other 8 parcels that you show there, the little 8, I assume they're dwellings of some sort, 8 bills, did they receive property tax bills?
None of those smaller tracts received a tax bill for 21 because they didn't exist on January 1st, 21.
Okay.
All 9 of the smaller ones received a 22 tax bill because that's the first January that those tracts existed.
Okay, so I should make sure I got the years correctly. So you're talking about, is this a refund from 2021 or 2022?
2021.
2021. And those parcels didn't exist, so there's essentially one owner, you billed them, collected the tax.
Right, and we had a tax bill out there. It was unpaid in December of 21, which it was not late or anything like that. And then we received a check that had a memo attached to it. The memo or the check stub only indicated the address of this specific property, which is inside that bigger boundary. It had the last name of the person who bought this smaller tract on it, but the amount of money was to the penny for the $10,046.27 for the entire tract that existed on January 21.
So the issue would not have been, it seems like as each of those structures was built in 2021, it looks like there might have been an issue that they would have been responsible for a pro rata share that year, and should that not have occurred at closing?
They could have, and in North Carolina, we only tax who is the owner on January 1, the way the property existed, how private real estate deals are conducted, and how taxes are prorated or individual matters. We have no idea if Mr. Brazil had anything to do with the original tract or anything else that was in the name of a company. So there's information that we felt like was clear enough for us to process the check. We did so, and I believe, the staff processed the way that I would have, for what that's worth. But I do understand that, somebody's paid a $10,000 tax bill. What this really is, in my opinion, is a private matter between Penny Mac, who wrote the check to us, and the original 21 owner. They should seek refund really from the original tract owner instead of the tax office. It's very limited how you can receive a refund in North Carolina. One of those is a clerical error. That clerical error is made by if our staff made that error, and that's why I'm trying to. I appreciate Dudley having a little time here for us. I just want to make sure I was clearly telling the situation for your consideration. It's my recommendation to deny the refund, that we processed it properly, but wanted to bring that to you.
One final little question. The box in yellow, the house in yellow, that in 2021 was the only one there.
Yes.
And did that owner that received the tax bill own the entire gray portion?
All of those 9 existed during the calendar year 21. All those 9 small.
But in January,
But in January,
2021,
none of the smaller.
but in January 2021, the person in the yellow box owned the entire gray parcel.
They did not.
Whoa.
The Arden Group owned the entire tract. Mr. Brazil, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, he was just one purchaser of one parcel. Penny Mac, acting on his behalf, sent us a check for $10,046.27.
So Kenny Mack is the property owner of the yellow, in 2021, January 1st, 2021, he was the owner of the yellow house.
Penny Mac is the loan processor, mortgage processor.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, obviously there was a mistake made.
Yes, sir.
And it doesn't appear to be our mistake, but it appears that the loan processor had paid the whole shooting match from one guy and everybody else got a free ride, and some happened to pro-rata shares at the closing. That disappeared. Yeah,
That's my contention as well, yes, sir.
Wow.
I think that's what he said.
Well, maybe I just had to process it twice. I think I got it.
John, I had one question. Who was the owner of record when the taxes were paid for the whole area?
Well, our tax bills are based on who owns property on January 1st.
Right.
And so even though we send those bills out in July, it's who owned it January 1st. On January 1st, it was the Arden Group and a combination of the Arden Group and Weldon LLC is who owned the property, the entire tract on January 1st, 21.
Okay. Did they ever receive a tax bill from your office, that group?
Yes.
Okay.
And the Penny Mac paid the bill in December of 21, so, I mean, Arden had plenty of time still to pay. Who knows if they were going to pay or not, but they had plenty of time to pay, and Penny Mac comes in and pays it, and we applied the payment, and zero balance.
So Vice Chairman, if I may, I have a question for Gordon because I just need the help. Just to confirm that we are within our limits of liability so that we're not responsible for any of this that should go on between these other two, correct?
Yes, as Mr. Burgess indicated.
With all due respect, Mr. Burgess.
As Mr. Burgess indicated, the statutes are very narrow in refunds that we can give, and so he is definitely following the proper course here.
That's all I need to know. Thank you. We're good.
Okay, are we ready for a motion? I'll make a motion that we deny the request. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner McDaniel. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Excuse me, any opposed? Motion
One.
carries unanimously. Oh, one opposed.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. So you got three reports. You got a fuel surcharge franchise report. This is where it's a quarterly surcharge change. I took a look at it. It went from 89 cents to 141. And I know Commissioner Linville will acknowledge that the lower Atlantic region cost of diesel fuel was $5.55. And so you're starting to see those high costs come into these fuel surcharge report. As the price mitigates a little bit, it'll come down. The Human Resources Report for the month of July 2022, and then also the Human Resource Report for the month of August 2022.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion approved by Chairman Plyler, second by Commissioner Linville. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
All right. And as I mentioned when we kicked off the formal session, Mark Davidson's here. He can provide a quick update on the discussions with Piedmont Flight Training. And I see Mr. Mounts is actually in the audience if you got any questions for him. So,
Good afternoon. The old school here. Just to remind everybody, Mark Davidson, Airport Director. We've been working with Piedmont Flight Training in partnership. We have a development we're very excited about where it actually involves a couple of parties, the county, the North Carolina Department of Transportation Division of Aviation, and that's going to be another item later on your first briefing is a $2 million grant to go after. And so this is what we're doing to expedite it now is get your approval on some terms, not necessarily the lease. We're working on the lease, and to remind everybody, this is, we're talking about on the south ramp of the airport adjacent to Foresight Tech. We've got a great location for the private investment for a ground lease. And since our last meeting, we were able to get together and agree upon some just terms and legal county attorney's working on actually worked on the first draft of the lease, and Mr. Mounts is reviewing it. We agreed upon actually a little bit larger leasehold than we talked about last week, 7,750 square feet to put a proposed building on. It's a 20-year lease with two options. One option's 5 years, and that's at the tenant's option, and then another option, a mutually agreed upon 5-year option. We came to a agreement upon the rate, the market rate of 40 cents a square foot per year. That equates to about $3,100 for the first year, and then there'll be CPI annual adjustments, no lower than 2%, no higher than 3.5%, and leasehold must use the property for flight school operations, and then also the county would have approval of the construction plans prior to construction. Here's some of the reasons I'm excited about this. Like we talked about, the market rate, it's what others are being charged at the airport. The county's not responsible for maintenance of the facility during the term. That'll be good for us. There's no reversion until the end. Also, we didn't include the aircraft parking ramp, and that'll give us the flexibility to do renovations, get state funding from the NCDOT. We'll do separate leases for tie-down spots and save approximation to the school when they're available. And also allows flexibility with future grants, like I said. Facility will revert to the county at the end of the term, and personal property tax on the aircraft. So that's why I'm excited about it, and I think we're here today just to update you. And then also, I don't know if you wanted to take any action on just the terms, not so necessarily we're not done with the lease.
Out of curiosity, that's all I've got here is curiosity. Has there been any conversation tying in some manner or form the educational facility of Forsyth Technical School and the pilot school? The reason I ask that question is if they're both right there together, correct me if I'm wrong, you've got a pretty good technical school that I don't know if any technical schools in this state are doing that type of instruction, but I can't help but think that way.
I believe there's some synergy there, and I think David Mount's been talking to Dr. Spriggs, and you might want to expand upon that.
Great. Good to have you with us, Mr. Mount.
Good to see you, Commissioner Plower. Thank you so much, Chairman. We have already formed partnerships with Elizabeth City State University, and I've been in discussions with Dr. Spriggs about forming a similar partnership. So we will have all of those hopefully in place very, very soon. ECSU, I just arrived back from Elizabeth City State this week to discuss the implementation of a high school aviation program at Carver, which we're hoping to also get moving forward rapidly, and a number of other areas of cooperation. So I think that is having this campus on the South Ramp really facilitates all of that, but also protects the county from the liability of having actual flight operations, which I know is a desirable trait.
Sure does sound exciting to me. Thank you.
Good, thank you. And Mark, one just quick follow-up. It seems like I saw in the advance email for what will be the briefing today is the application for that grant for the runway, the tarmac part, yes?
Yes, sir. We're going to ask for $2 million, and 10% of it would be our local match for $200,000.
At the airport. The airport actually has funds to match.
$200,000.
Yeah, okay. Well, I thought. Good. Just a comment I'd like to make.
Let me clarify that. We will come to you with the CPO amendment. I've been working with Christopher Ong, but we do have the funds from generation or revenue generation.
I got it. Yes, thank you. The comment I'd like to make is I think last Thursday we talked about this issue, and it seemed to be sort of an impasse, and there was some discussion that we could maybe get together, particularly Mr. Mounts and Mark, and they did. And I think this part is, I think it's much improved from last week. And there is a time of the essence here in terms of kind of things moving forward, because we have a flight school that's in an area that's going to be demolished, and as the airport construction moves forward. So what I would like to do, we haven't got the contract ready, but what I would be really pleased with if we could do what Mark suggested, that we go ahead and just approve the terms of the agreement. And then I think from the flight school standpoint, they could kind of move ahead and know that the lease is forthcoming. It's just a matter of the details, and it's just another 2 weeks. It doesn't go by the wayside in that regard. So, you all know I've had a conversation with Dudley, and in order to actually act on just those requirements, it's any kind of action, we just simply we would need to waive the 2 briefing requirement and then agree to the terms presented in the PowerPoint. And I'd like to make a motion that we do that, is to waive the 2 briefing requirement for action and then approve the terms, basically, that Mark Davison has reviewed for the lease. It's really just the ground lease between Forsyth County and the Piedmont Flight School.
I would second that motion.
Second by Chairman Plyler. Any discussion?
One question, please. Okay, go ahead.
All right, well, one at a time. Right, Mr. Lynn, will you go first?
Mr. Manager, I'll ask you this question. Is the terms that's being shown here, has the staff agreed to all of these terms?
So, and I probably will defer to Gordon a little bit. I think there is broad agreement around the broad terms that are just on that page. I think the lease is 15 pages or something. And so, there's sort of 2 hurdles. There's the terms and there's the lease agreement. So I think the answer is yes to broad terms.
I'll echo that. The parties have agreed broadly to the terms, but these are not all the terms. These are some of the terms. They're the most important terms. But we have a draft lease agreement, which has been provided to Mr. Mounts, and he will be reviewing that, and he will get back in touch with us if he has any changes or anything he wants to add or take away from that. It's currently on for first briefing today, and such that it would be voted upon by the board on your next meeting, which I believe is November 10th. And so that's the way we usually do agenda items, that they're fully prepared and you have a chance to look at them ahead of time, and staff is comfortable with it. We're passing some of the terms today wouldn't really have any legal effect because you still need a lease. So regardless of what you do today, you'll still need to act in 2 weeks on the lease.
Absolutely.
So all terms is not all in place.
Yeah, I think
That's correct.
Yeah, I think the purpose of Vice Chairman's desire is that we really have made it past those terms were not in agreement last week, and so we believe they are now, if Mr. Mounts would agree to that. And so, I think the idea is that we made it past this first hurdle, and then we'll get into the devil's always in the details on these things, and we will need agreement. I think we'll need agreement on the full lease. Really going into that second. We've changed things up. We're doing a very high level first briefing, and we'll need those. We'll need to be pretty doggone close to it by the time we brief it next Thursday.
I would just add that we are in agreement on all the key terms, and I'd like to thank the airport manager for his work on that. The airport manager and I worked last weekend to get that done on the terms, but the lease could not be prepared. I did not receive it until just this morning, so we haven't had a chance to review the full lease. But keep in mind that we are sort of on hold with architects and other things to try to get progress going. And we don't want to hold up the terminal renovation. We're trying to be cooperative and move forward. So we'll take what we can get if we can get these terms approved, and we'll keep moving in good faith and in trust that we'll be able to work with the county attorney to finalize a lease before the next meeting.
Any other discussions?
I had one question, Mr. Vice Chair, then.
Go ahead.
The date for your grant to be submitted, Mark, is what date specific?
After it's approved, then we'll forward along. It's actually, as I mentioned at the last meeting, it's more of an economic development grant, which we actually partner. It'll expedite some of the stuff we have on the long-range projects. And so with the help of David, he supplied a bunch of numbers in regards to employment and estimates and things like that. So we're working with Amanda Connor. So as soon as you approve on the 10th, I can get it out pretty much the next day.
Right.
And this has not been operating in an envelope. We've been working with Amanda Connor with the state, and she knows it's coming and has helped us with it.
So approval today would make it speed it up, simply put, and be good.
I don't see how it would speed it up. We don't even have the lease, and we'll vote on both November 10th, and that's when you'll apply for the grant, correct?
Approved, yep.
After it's approved. I really cannot support this motion. It goes against our policy. We're always big on policy so that we don't make mistakes, and I prefer to wait until we have the terms and the lease at one time. And that would be November 10th, correct?
I'd just like to make a point that we are following policy. The policy allows a waiver when 2 briefings are required. It allows that you can make that action, and that is according to policy. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
No.
2. We have 4-2. Motion carries.
Mr. Vice Chairman, I didn't catch the vote. Would you ask for them to raise their hands?
Yes. Those in favor, please raise your hand. Oh, you did not vote.
I'm abstaining right now.
All right, we have those against. We have 2. So we're 3-2 and 1 abstention. I'm not sure about the parliamentary issue on that, but I'll maybe refer to our.
I think that means it passes.
Got it.
Good legal
Counts for
advice.
the majority. Thank you. I click that and remind that. All righty. Okay. Now, do we have a motion to adjourn to get ready for our briefing?
Second.
All righty. Motion by Commissioner Lamine, second by Chairman Plyler. We will adjourn until we're ready to go over the briefing items.
We don't need a whole long time, but
How long do you need? 5 minutes?
Yeah, and a closed session.
yeah.
5 minutes good?
5 minutes.
Good. All right. All right.